Good evening and welcome to the program. This is the Limelight. My name is Prince Apollo. Now, this week, the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, the statistics body in this country, released the preliminary report from the 2024 National Population and Housing Census. And critical findings here and there, of course, showing that there has been an increase in population from 34.6 million 10 years ago in 2014 to now 49.5 million Ugandans. 51% of them are female and 49% are male. Well, of course, these are the statistics that will inform policy decisions for, of course, the authorities in this country, especially some of those critical areas in demographies, including the UBOS report showing that Uganda has 50.5% young population between the age of 1 to 17, and many other critical findings that were released in this particular report. We need to interrogate these findings and, of course, hear from experts what they say about these demographies, how government can ably plan, and all those issues. Of course, in the studios, we have Mr. Vincent Operemo. Vincent Operemo is the manager, strategic planning at the National of Uganda. Welcome to the program.
Well, thank you, Apollo.
Let's go straight to the report. You must have internalized some of these findings in the report. But let's first talk about the growth in the population, and more especially the growth rate, which has been rather declined, but slightly declined, the growth rate. What does that mean to this country?
Thank you, Apollo. Yes, by moving from 34 to 45.9 million, it means that's an addition of about almost 12 million. On a yearly basis, more than 1 million people have been added for the last 10 years, 2014 to 2024. The meaning is that though our GDP, the total production capacity of our country, if we express it in money terms, has been increasing. The population growth has equally also been going at the same rate. And as you see, for the last years, you find our GDP per capita, that is the total product of the country divided by the population, has been almost moving at a constant rate. It has not been changing. So, but there are some positives in this, in that though it has been increasing, it has been a slight, marginal decline in this population, meaning that some demographic dividend, we are beginning to reap some of them. That there is now an uptake of the advice on mothers trying to reduce the number of children.
Family planning
as we
methods.
have mothers in school, the affirmative action that has been encouraging girls to stay at school longer. So with more girls staying at school longer, then we are going to reduce the population growth. And this will pay off over the long run. And also the implication is that the death rate has reduced.
The death rate has reduced.
Yeah, the life expectancy has now increased.
Has increased.
Yes, it is now for the ladies, though it was not yet reported in this current report, the most recent statistics we have, women live up to 68 years average, and men up to 63. Meaning that with improvements in health and general social services, people are beginning to live longer. We are getting that generation of people who are... So now we are going to require special services for the old people. So it means that our services, the service delivery is improving. We are now beginning to reap the advantage of improving the services, social services specifically.
From this slight decline in the growth rate, is there anything good in it?
Yes, one of them, if you look at the GDP per capita, for instance, it has increased. It is nearly reaching 1,200. It was
of course, it will increase because the GDP income per capita is the GDP, the whole GDP divided by the number of people, the whole total population.
Yes, and when the population growth reduces, it allows the GDP to
to increase.
Go up, yeah. So that marginal increase has also seen some slight increase in the GDP per capita. Yeah, so compared to the last 3 years, where we had just entered middle income, we are now in middle income.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's also go to
lower middle income.
Let's go to another critical finding in this report about the young population. 50.5% of Ugandans are now between 1 and 17. What does that mean?
Yeah, that age group, that is 0 to 17 by Uganda's education system, it means by 17 years we are now in A level. The demands of such a population are mainly in the social sector. Education, our enrollment in UPE right now is something around 8 to 10 million.
8 million.
And now we are saying about 23, which is half of the population, are in that age category. So it means about 10 of them.
These are about 23.1 million.
Yes. Nearly 10 million are in primary school of that, and then the rest are in secondary school.
Okay.
But we also have those who are not yet age 0 to, before primary, before P1, age 0 to 5. Their needs are really within health immunization services, like the recent service that has been going on, yellow fever, and other services government has been trying to provide. All these go to affect. So with the increasing life expectancy from the other age bracket going up, and then with improved health services at this point, it then means another group of people is coming. So those people, given our average life expectancy right now, it means they're going to be here for 50 years average. So for the next 50 years, we have the 23 million people who are going to be here. So when we make another projection. So the demand for services is actually very high. The child health, sexual and reproductive health for the young adults who are in that age, the young mothers, because the reproductive age in Uganda, somehow we start early. Our mothers, 14? Many of our mothers are young. So, and especially during COVID, it was much pronounced that teenage pregnancy was so high. It became an issue when we were doing the national exam at one time, whether to allow pregnant girls to sit for PLA, for UCE, until there was an intervention by the Minister for Education in that regard. So, looking at the budget related to that, a good proportion of the budget has been directed to the human capital.
That is what I wanted to ask you. Are there deliberate interventions by government to address this young population, the needs of this young population?
Yes. In the Vision 2040, the aspiration is to transform the Ugandan society from peasant to modern and prosperous by 2040. So towards that, we have been implementing national development plans, that NDP 1, 2010-2015, NDP 2, 16-20, NDP 3, and now we're going into NDP 4. But what has been the underlying factor there is increasing household income, so that we're able to address the needs of this emerging population, the young population that we're having right now. Another study one time was undertaken called the needs. A section of our population who are not in education, they are not in employment, they are not in any form of training. That section is also big. So now the current interventions here are that we need to do skilling for those who have dropped out of school, so that we have skilling even at post P7. Post P7, post S4, and then post S6, you can go and get a particular skill. So in the strategy of the NDP4, one of the objectives there is improving human capital development along the entire life cycle. And the life cycle of the Uganda population, as I hinted earlier, we have children of 0 to 3 years. That is at home, mother care, that's the health. 3 to 6, of course not all of them, they go to pre-primary. But less than 20% of our primary or nursery going children are not at school, 80% are not accessing that nursery. Then primary, a big population, because of UPE, many of them now enroll for primary education. So that's why the biggest section of this 50.5% actually fall.
In primary education?
Yes. So that means, though of course the unit costs have been lower, efforts are there to raise the unit cost, the cost per child.
The capitation grant,
yes, for
every kid who is in primary
school. To raise it so that we improve the quality, because the concerns are now in improving the quality of education. If we are to have a quality population, we need quality services, quality education, and then reduce the distance to services, be it health, water, and even the school. So they say a primary school per parish. looking at PDM, for instance, that PDM has those aspects, social services, that primary school per parish, how many health centers are there, how many children are accessing immunization services, and other necessary. So within education and health, and of course sanitation. Sanitation is very paramount. Children thrive when there's good hygiene.
True.
Many of the children die due to water-related diseases, lack of good hygiene and something like that. So there are such strategies now within the NDP 3, the current, and even the NDP 4 that we're entering into, to keep the children healthy and then improve the quality of the education they get. So these changes which are coming now, the curriculum has been changed to a more practical one.
Yep.
As
Competence-based.
Yeah, competence-based, as opposed to the old one where the teacher would load the students. But now it is child-centered, that the child should be the center of the teaching. So that they set the pace. If the children are faster, then the teacher should follow. If they are slower, you also follow them in that, but make them more competent within that area. So really, it is a good chance. So it means that we really have to improve the planning and service provision for that age category if we are to improve them at a later stage, so that we get the quality, the best of them when they come to the time they are mature to serve the country, when they reach their mid-20s now, when they are actively in the labor market after school.
So you said government now must pay attention to areas of social services, including the education sector, the health sector. What else for these young people?
Sanitation.
And sanitation and hygiene. Okay. Let's look at also the youth population in the age bracket of up to 30 years, between 18 and 30 years.
Yes.
What are there any critical needs for that population? I mean, referring to the findings and the demographics.
Yeah, the age 18 to 30, that's the time people start families. It is also that time when they enter tertiary education, university. We have now 50 universities in Uganda. It means the demand for higher education is increasing. And the government has also been supporting, because 10 of those across every region in the country now there's a public university. The government is responding. When they put UPE 97, 2003, USE came 2000, around there. So it meant that as the population is now after completing primary, the demand for secondary education increased, and now even higher education, because on a yearly basis you graduate from those tertiary institutions more than 40,000 every year. There's a big population entering the labor market. So with our prioritization of industrialization, mineral and oil development in those areas, because we're targeting on taking up our population. If we were to talk about the skilling, the knowledge economy now, application of science and technology, that is the age where such becomes more pronounced. But we need people who are actively involved in contributing to the economic growth in the service sector, in the industry sector. But prior to that, they need to be skilled. They need to be equipped. So now it means skilling. We have to deliberately prepare our training institutions. Because there has been a constraint that private vocational schools, the enrollment has been greater than public schools, because they reduce their requirements. They don't care whether you have passes in sciences, or they admit, but they turn you into a productive person. So we have places like SPEAR also doing a lot of training for our people, SPEAR Motors, and many others coming up. So the private sector.
That's exactly what I wanted to ask you about. What can the private sector, what role can it play, or what can they do to exploit the opportunities available from these findings, especially the young population of 50.5%?
The private sector has been a key partner in the provision of these services. Even in health, you can see there are many private hospitals, private clinic, pharmacies. They have really responded, even in education. Out of about 50 universities in Uganda, 40 of them
are private.
So they are really very key partners in this. They sensed this long ago, and they're prepared. So the private sector, of course, in their, with their controls in place, like we have the National Council for Higher Education, also partner regulating all the standards. Of course, we need those standards to be strict first. So private sector also employs. the population. 80% of our population who are employed are in the private sector.
Oh.
Yes. So we really need to invest in the private sector. Even in the NDP4, one of the objectives there is to support the private sector, to drive growth and to create employment. Because you know them, they pay taxes, 80% of the tax, 80% employment. They provide, as we've seen in the universities, about 80% universities are private. The same second, so as education goes higher, the private sector becomes prominent. Though in the primary, the public sector, private schools are many, but when you go to secondary, the private and the universities. Yeah.
Vincent, let's finally, in these few minutes, talk about another key finding or statistic in this report.
Yes.
The central Buganda, the Buganda region, has the highest population of more than 8 million.
Yeah.
While the next, the second in that order is around 2.8. Ankole? Yes.
Yes.
No, Busoga.
Yeah.
What can now government do for this region that has highest population? Or anyway, if I may ask you, are there special interventions to, of course, provide for the needs of this big population in the Buganda region?
If we are to look at the economic structure of Uganda geographically, most education facilities, say universities or secondary, the good ones, they're in Buganda. So they attract. Because there is another outstanding feature, but even in Uganda, there was particularly Kampala. They have a higher number of visitors compared to other areas. So that's the special attraction which Uganda has. First, they host the capital city. We have other cities, but Kampala is still the main city, which contributes about almost half of Uganda's GDP. Is contributed by Kampala alone. The other towns combined to contribute 20%. And not just Kampala, but industries and other major economic. So that's what attracts businesses. They're all. So in the NDP3 strategy, the growth strategy was to structure the country into what we call a triangle. Gulu in the north, then the triangle runs from Mutukula, the border there, Mbarara, up to Tororo, Mbale, Soroti to Guru. Then from Guru, the oil city connecting. So we have a triangle to spread growth opportunity. So the industry strategy is to grow along those lines. Now, something good also reflected in this census is that Kampala is the most visited city. They have the highest number of about 600, over 600,000 visitors, daytime visitors. Followed by Guru, followed by Soroti, followed by Mbale. That's the triangle now. Then, of course, we can go now to the west, going to Barara. So with that now, it means now with our urban program being a special program, we need to spread
development across the country.
With now the increasing generation of electricity, to spread it along the triangle. Kampala, Mbale, Soroti.
That is the plan.
Yes, that is the strategy in NDP. And we continue with the same, because our industrialization agenda is part of the strategy to cause employment and create equity.
Do you see it happening soon?
It
will spread the development across the country.
Yes, that strategy is already there. Within the urban, one of the programs in the NDP is sustainable urbanization and housing. That's a special program because of its big impact on the GDP and population. The census has also showed that people are moving more towards the urban population is growing. It attracts visitors. They come here to do business, to buy and sell, and then they return to sell maybe in their rural areas, then come back. So the urban concept is very key. And if we're honest, if we develop our cities properly, more population, more employment, and more growth.
Okay, so in just 1 minute, or just 30 seconds, is there anything good in this report, the findings of this report? About Uganda, about development in this country?
Yes, there are a lot of good things in this report. First, of course, we have established the number. It was first the one which had the longest questionnaire. It means people were taken through a number of issues because the Bureau of Statistics opened up and allowed all providers and asked them, what do you want us to find out about the population? Do you want us to ask about health, about the status of people, including eyesight, because this time they asked about such questions, access to phones, the type of food you eat. So it was so long, and also it was digital, so it was able to quickly cover a lot of things And that's why the time was short between the time the census
So
was
basically,
and,
with this information, this critical information,
Yes.
you're the planners of this country. You have all the data you need to plan well for this country.
It may not be all, but it has also come at a very right time when we are now forming the NDP4. So the baseline is going to be provided from that data. So
Thank you. Thank you so much. Vincent Operemo is the manager strategic planning at the National Planning Authority of Uganda. Well, now they have everything they need. We wait to see how they will plan, and then government and other agencies, of course, and other sectors of government implement those plans. My name is Prince Apollo. Thank you so much for tuning in. That was it from the National Population Census Report, which was released this week, the 2024 Population Census Report. Let's catch up again next Friday in another edition of the Limelight. But after here, we are going into a Misinji with Pastor Aloysius Bujingo. Don't go away. God bless you. God bless Uganda.